His Highness the Aga Khan was in Pakistan at the beginning of March 2002 to launch 2 new economic development initiatives aimed at helping to revitalize Pakistan's economy. The first of these initiatives is intended to give economic opportunities to the very poor by making available microcredit facilities.
We are gathered here today not simply because we share the view that the poor must be enabled to overcome their circumstances. It is because we firmly believe that the disadvantaged amongst us must be able to build a sound and secure future with dignity and pride, and not merely to survive. The First Microfinance Bank seeks to marry entrepreneurship with capital formation. It will give people scope to expand their economic base and over time to support diversification beyond traditional small enterprises. The bank will also endeavor to introduce good practices, ethical precepts, and the highest standards of rectitude in the conduct of business. I remain hopeful that over the next few years, the bank will be able to expand further its approach to poverty alleviation via services related to housing finance, micro-seed capital, and skills development. A focus on opportunities for the development of female clients will also be a major objective of the bank. It will aim to provide to women, who form 71% of the poor in Pakistan, the opportunities to access credit, thereby enhancing the welfare of their families and their contribution to the economy.
The Aga Khan went on to praise the Pakistani government's efforts in tackling poverty. 2 years ago, it introduced a similar microfinance scheme.
It's not just giving the money and forgetting. Here it's a different ball game. We give the money, we want to see that the person is utilizing it in the proper manner and he is financially self-supportive.
After lunch, President Musharraf and the Aga Khan opened the Serena Hotel in Islamabad, which is more than just a physical and investment landmark for the region.
The Islamabad Serena stands as a visible, tangible expression of the commitment of the Aga Khan Fund to the economic development of Pakistan. Of all industries, tourism is probably the greatest creator of jobs, for its capacity to draw on all levels of the labor force in terms of education and skills, and all types of enterprises, from family businesses to international corporations. It can stimulate broad areas of the economy that service the leisure industry, ranging from agriculture to light industry and handicrafts, from the construction industry to those industries related to interior decor, such as the furniture industry and textiles.
Then the Aga Khan made an unexpected departure from his prepared speech.
Permit me to move away from my text for a second, simply to say that in my experience, behind many of the greatest buildings in the Islamic world, there has been one figure, one person, one inspiring individual who has wanted the building to come forward in his vision of quality and talent. Today, I pay tribute to my brother.
Prince Amin explained that vision, which included the choice of a local architect.
In line with our Serena Hotel development ethos, which focuses on promoting local forms of architecture, on reflecting and expressing local cultures, and essentially on molding the Serena brand of hotel projects around local themes, careful selection of an architect was made. We chose a Pakistani citizen, Mr. Nair Ali Dada. Several months were therefore spent on developing a brief that was later converted at the hands of skilled draftsmen into professional working drawings, which thereafter, given form and shape by superb craftsmen, became the structure that you see today. Continuous changes were made to even minor architectural and decorative elements to ensure that the cultural diversity within Pakistan should be adequately captured in a hotel in Islamabad, its capital city, while maintaining the highest possible standards of construction and safety. Safety for clients and for the building itself, since this is, after all, an area of seismic activity.
You see, the artists they've been encouraged to do their own things, support themselves, be able to do that. But you see, the important thing is you've got their security, which is really important from a place that they're far away from the city. Nobody can come and actually create a problem.
In Karachi, Begum Inara Aga Khan, Honorary President of Focus Humanitarian Assistance, went to review Focus's work with Afghan refugees who are temporarily housed in transit centres. The Begum took a keen interest in how the specific needs of the children were being met. All of these refugees have since been either resettled or have returned to Afghanistan.
Perhaps the greatest lesson of the tragedy of conflict that has recently engulfed this region is the need to attack its true roots. These lie not in religion or in corruption, but rather in deprivation, poverty, exclusion, and lack of opportunity, and therefore hope.
Assalamu alaikum viewers, you're watching Newsnight with Talat Hussain. We are delighted and honored to have as our guest tonight His Highness the Aga Khan, spiritual leader of the Ismaili Muslims, who's currently visiting Pakistan. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me ask you by talking about the project that you inaugurated here in Pakistan, the Microcredit Bank and the Serena Hotel. What's the particular significance of these projects?
The objective of these projects and others has been to support the economic development of Pakistan, to try to identify niche needs that have not been responded to in the past. And in the field of microfinance, this actually has been an area of involvement of the Aga Khan Rural Support Program in the North since a number of years. But it was important to institutionalize that activity and to make it available across the country. New legislation brought in by the government has enabled non-governmental organizations to enter into the microfinance field, and it is without any doubt one of the most important support systems to fight particularly poverty, because in effect what you're doing is you're providing banking to segments of the population that cannot access commercial banking. In the other area, Islamabad needed a new hotel. The economy of Pakistan needs to be further diversified. The leisure industry is an important industry, and this is another hotel amongst the 6, I think, which are in this country.
Now that sums up these two projects, but these are not the only ones that your network and foundation is supporting. The viewers would be interested in knowing your insights onto how this model that you have been able to put forward is so successful. Is there what goes into this model actually?
Well, I think a number of issues, and I feel very flattered by your comments. But essentially, the notion is that the Arkan Development Network is a support system to a national initiative in the countries where we work to enhance the development processes, to speed them up, to add quality. And so the first thing is to identify the needs. The Arkan University, for example, identified the need of quality higher education in Pakistan. This is not a specific issue for Pakistan. Many countries in the developing world need much more sophisticated, higher quality, higher level education. The next point is that if you create new capacity, it's important to bring to that field, whatever it is, a sense of quality. So what we have tried to achieve is a notion of best practice. In the 60s, the 70s, there was a long debate, a political debate, as to whether developing countries could afford quality. I think that argument doesn't exist anymore, in the sense that developing countries, like all countries, need quality institutions. So our objective has been to try to establish as a goal best practice in what we're doing.
And how do you do your networking with other organizations? Because you know, your network doesn't work in isolation. There are inputs and networking with other organizations. How does this aspect of the model work?
Well, once we've identified what we think is a niche requirement or a specific requirement in a developing country, we will then analyze that. And that's perhaps the point I should have made earlier. The quality of the diagnostic of the issue and of the design of the response takes time and work and reflection. Once we're satisfied that we have more or less addressed the problem, then we will seek partners, either within the country or outside, to work with us. A third aspect is the replication of the knowledge we have developed. We try to develop capacity which can be reutilized, either in the public sector or the private sector, in the country concerned or outside.
Monitoring, that's a very important issue. There has been no dearth of project conceived and designed to address these basic issues that your network addresses. But somehow, because of faulty monitoring, they just fall on the wayside and then nobody talks about them. How does your monitoring system work?
We have a rigorous monitoring system. And I think that what I've tried to encourage is to have people move away from the sense of shame if mistakes are made. If mistakes are made, the question is, can they be corrected? How can they be corrected? But if failures of any sort are just pushed under the carpet, in the end they eat into the carpet and it's the carpet that's gone.
So it's not just a question of having enough finances, it's also a whole lot of other things. Talk about also, if you please, Your Highness, the efficient use of resources, because there's a debate raging in Pakistan that, well, perhaps in the education system, for example, a lot of money is coming in, but it's not a problem of money, it's the way you utilize it. Tell us also about that aspect of the model.
I think that, you know, in the last decades, one of the things that's come across in development work has been strategizing public service, social service delivery. And countries need to relook at their objectives in education, in healthcare. They need to make sure that they correspond to demographic needs, to changes in demand. And my sense is that that process of strategizing is one which needs more time and effort. And it really should not be a political debate. It's actually a highly technical debate as to how you educate future generations of a given country for their future. And I think that is in the process of happening now, but it is an ongoing exercise, let's be quite frank about it. As the economy of a country changes, the education for future generations has to adapt to those projections.